I'd like to welcome everyone to WeLoveMetal.com. We are on the phone with Tom Morrissey at Killcode. How you doing today, Tom?
Good, man. How are you, man? Thanks for having me.
No, not an issue. I guess we're going to get right into talking about Taking It All. It's a great EP. How did it come together?
Thanks. Well, Taking It All was our second EP. Our first EP was To Die For. And when we were doing the first EP, we were thinking about making it a full album, but we wanted to get out there and start playing and worry about, establishing a live fan base. And we decided to just wait a little bit and release the second EP. So basically, the band's been together for about 2.5 years now, and those first two EPs, To Die For and Taking It All, which you reviewed, and thanks a lot for the cool review, are what we were doing up to that point.
How long did it take to record?
We usually take a couple months for each one, because we were pretty much on a hot streak with the songwriting, and thankfully we're on the same page right now, too, for our first full length.
Now, I never talked much about the past of the band in the review, Tom. Just wondering if you could fill our listeners into, some of the past accomplishments of the members and whatnot.
Sure. Well, we all came from different bands, New York-based bands, and Rob was a drummer in L.A. for a while, back and forth. Pat Harrington, who's lead/rhythm, as well as Chaz, lead/rhythm, excuse me. Was in a band called Slunt. Did quite a bit of touring with Kiss and Motorhead, the other bands, and was making some noise in New York City prior to our band. Chaz, the other guitar player, rhythm/lead, he was in a band called Dirty Rig, which some people might be familiar with. It's kind of this heavy stoner rock. I was in a band called More, another New York City band, and Eric was in a band called Bonesmith, and Robbie was in a bunch of bands, and too many names to list. But we've all toured, and we all collectively, we sold thousands to represent between all of ourselves. But we find ourselves spinning our wheels with all the bands, and instead of doing this and keep on going, why don't we put our efforts together and form something new? So far, so great.
I would say, yeah. Now, with the EP, I said in the review it's a good way to show different styles. Is that something you guys set out to do, or are you guys just always on?
We really don't set up to do anything other than write this good, strong songs. We all come from different influences and styles in the rock genre, and some not in the rock genre. So what you hear on the CD and the EPs are just pretty much that. It's just like the combination of all our influences and styles come together. We don't really go for a certain thing other than just making sure it's a good, strong song.
Now, within those different styles, Tom, I mean, your voice is, you're going all over the place with different, a lot of different layers to your voice. Is it professionally trained?
No, I mean, other than just singing, in choirs and stuff when I was a kid, not really. I've taken 1 or 2 lessons. I probably should take some more, but it's a natural ability, and thankfully I have it.
How do you take care of it with the grind of the road?
It's just, you try to do as much resting in between the songs as possible. Luckily, being in a rock band, I'm not too overly concerned with it sounding clean and perfect. I kind of like authority vocal sound. And, just try to stay away from too much of the booze and too much of anything else. And just, that's been it so far.
Well, that booze is actually a good segue into my next question, because some bands would be offended by this, but, I say it with kindness, that Killcode's music takes me back to a time with really good house parties and a lot of beer and a lot of fun. And is that important to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it's important. I mean, I guess it's our lifestyle. I mean, we're pretty much high energy, bunch of fun guys, and we're out and about in the city, hanging out quite a bit. It's part of what we do, and I think the music reflects that. So, we like to bring the party, and I guess that's the same way in the songs as well.
Well, it certainly does that. I got a question from a fan, Demon Lover 666. He wants to know about Midnight Rider, why you chose that cover.
Actually, I'm trying to think exactly how. I actually do remember now. Eric walked into a rehearsal room, Eric Bonesmith, bass player, and he was singing it to himself. He had just heard it in the car, and Pat picked up his axe and started playing along and gave a little spin on it, and that's exactly what happened. That was it.
Wow, it doesn't sound anything like the original, to be honest. It's a definitely a great take on it. So.
Thanks. Well, I mean, aside from that, go a little more into how the song developed. So that happened. Pat went in on his own, and it put a twist to it, brought it to us, and that's kind of like the idea just started with Eric mentioning it, and then Pat took it to another level. I'm actually pretty happy with that as well. Fans' favorite.
Now, you guys have a lot of experience under your belt, so I wanted to ask you, from your perspective, we get a lot of young artists submitting things and asking us questions. What can you say to them, that they could make a living doing this? Because a lot of them struggle.
Making a living. Well, first, it's a little harsh, but I think you should do it first for the love of it. If you don't love what you do, you shouldn't do it. And I know for myself, even if I wasn't making money or making money, I would have to do it. What I can say is just really concentrate on building up a fan base and going out there and playing solid shows at venues that are going to pay you for bringing the crowd. You'll be able to, hopefully fund whatever you have to do if you don't have a label behind you. So we've been lucky enough to set up some tours, do a lot of things on our own, but it's all through hard work and really making sure you put on solid shows. And I always recommend in any scene, across the country, where trying to get together with other bands and form alliances, and that's how you really can make things happen. Doing it all by yourself is hard enough, but if you bring other bands, not necessarily in bands that necessarily sound alike, but think alike, it's a lot easier to make things happen.
Definitely. Being out on the road, this is actually a good question that speaks to that. Do you think the days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll are over?
No, I think it's like everything comes around and comes back. First of all, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that is what rock and roll is, in essence, the freedom. It doesn't define it, but it's part of it. And I think, like everything, things come back around, and I think a lot of the younger kids now, not necessarily so much about the drugs, but definitely the sex and the rock and roll and the drinking and stuff like that. I think that people are ready to have a party again. We're a little tired of the whole downer, indie, too cool to school, posing. Which I have love for everything, but personally I just like someone who enjoys himself up on stage.
Definitely, but I can tell with the way you guys handle yourselves that professionalism is important to the band.
Right. Well, professionally, of course, because the bottom line is you can have as much fun as you want and you can go crazy on stage, but if you can't, make the gig on time, and if you don't have your right and tight, it's not going to come across. At least for us, some bands they don't care about that so much, but we definitely want to make sure we bring it tight and right.
Definitely. What's next for you guys?
Well, we're about to do a tour. We're affiliated with AFC, the Armed Forces Entertainment, and we're going to play for the troops May 7th. We're starting out in Djibouti, Africa, visiting Kuwait, Iraq, and aside from that, we're doing a send-off show in New York City, which is going to be, I give it a wrong date, May 15th is the date for the tour. On May 7th, we're doing a send-off show in New York City at Mercury Lounge. We'll be headlining, and hopefully everybody can come out and show our support for what we're doing for the boys on May 15th for the AFB Troop Tour.
And I thank you for that. There's many Canadians alongside those Americans over there, so it's a wonderful
thing. We're really excited about it, and I can say, and I think I speak for the rest of the band, that this tour for the troops overseas is probably our biggest and proudest accomplishment so far. Aside from that, the new record, which is about to come out, we're 9 songs into it, is another thing that I think everybody's going to be really excited about when they hear it, and that should be 2 soon after we get back from the tour.
Well, I know we're certainly excited about it, so you can add us to the list.
Yeah, definitely.
I had a reader quite honestly come forward and say that, the name of our site is We Love Metal, and Killcode's not metal. There's no way they're metal.
Right.
Does that matter to you guys?
No, I don't think we are a strictly metal band. I can say whoever said that definitely might not have listened to us at all, and they'll listen closely, because there's definitely a strong metal influence. But there's also a strong rock influence. There's also a strong straight rock. There's also a strong southern rock influence. And like I mentioned earlier, we all bring different things to the table. We're not really concerned with being labeled anything other than a great band, and probably a great rock band. But are we a straight metal band? No, I don't think so. But I definitely think we have influences. But if we get to move on, if you do, listen.
That, and I don't think anybody's straight metal anymore, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they are, and I love that. I love metal bands. I love straight metal. Pat in particular and Chad, the guitar players, they're pretty well versed in everything all about metal. And but at the same time, it's not necessarily what we do. But there are a few bands out there I feel that brand.
Well, you're metal enough to be on our site, and that's what I said to that reader.
Well, thank you.
I'm going to sign off with one last question, Tom, that we've asked everybody we've ever interviewed, and that's living or dead, past or present. Who would you share the stage with if you had the chance?
If I had to share the stage with somebody past and present, personally or a bad one?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Personally or collectively bad one?
Personally.
Me personally, I'd say probably either The Who or Zeppelin. As far as heroes of songwriting, the Beatles, and popular Metallica.
Wonderful. I'll tell you, the Who is a major one. That's one we get a lot. So.
Well, I mean, The Who is probably one of my favorite bands as far as the songwriting and the passion and the dynamics, and also just how their songs just take you different places. You know, and as a vocalist and a songwriter, you know, I definitely look to them as one of the biggest and best.
Certainly. Well, I want to thank Tom for doing this and encourage everybody to check out Taking It All from Killcode. Great EP, high rating review on our site, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time to do this, Tom.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And, you know, for everybody who's listening, you can catch us on Facebook, MySpace, and you can pick up both our EPs, To Die For and Take It All, on iTunes. Just type in Killcode. Help spread the bill.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.